Hey, I'm back.
My 13-year-old son Dylan, and I said, I'm chatting to Monty. He lives in Canada now. He went, the 51st state.
Go.
God.
Fuck yourself. That's not good. That's not good at all. Oh, God.
Well, I don't think he has any influence on policy, so...
Well, in Trump's cabinet, who fucking knows? Like...
We are back with the second part of our Canada is a Bit Weird special, Monty.
That's a good sound. Good work, mate. How tall is it? Is it tall?
Yeah. Disappointingly sized, I would say, compared to what you've got going on, but...
I've heard that. I've said that phrase before.
No, well... So, Monty, what have you brought for me that's Canadian and weird?
Okay. I'm sure this podcast has heard it before, but the term under-researched gets thrown around a lot. But
we've been talking about doing this episode for about a year, haven't we?
I know, and the thing is that I got too excited and then changed all my plans and have come up with other things. But they're good things, and there will be a lot of fun to be had on the journey. I was coming up today with clever ways to start this, but I just couldn't. So we'll just get into it. But
don't try to be clever. It's
it's not what this pod's about.
No.
There is one place in the world that is rat-free. It is rat-free. No rats.
Yeah.
No rats.
I understood what you meant.
One place in the world. It is Alberta, the province I live in. The whole province is rat-free. Rat-free for 30 years. But also...
Is that on the sign when you enter the state, or...?
Absolutely is. No question.
Is it really?
Yeah, absolutely. So... But that also brings me to another funny point about Edmonton. So Edmonton, where I live, had, as you entered, pretty much one way in, one way out. There are others, but one big way in. It had a sign that said City of Champions because of Wayne Gretzky and the hockey, and we won a lot of Grey Cups, which is the NFL, the American football here. They took that down about 6 years ago. They realised they had not been champions in far too long and took the sign down, which I thought was very funny. And, it stayed up too long, and it's a grandiose sign, but it's funny that that's how long it took, and then you admit, we're not the City of Champions anymore.
But at least they did. There's modesty there. You wouldn't see Americans doing that.
No, fuck no.
Just on Gretzky, you were telling me a month or two ago on a different podcast called What's the Go? Sport podcast, check it out.
Link in
that
bio.
Canadians are off Gretzky now?
Yeah, because he's all MAGA. He's very American, and everyone dislikes him. And I'm glad you brought that up, Stu, because something in this fair city happened today about that very thing. There is a statue of Wayne Gretzky out the front of the hockey arena here, and today it was defaced with a mass amount of human feces. I don't know who.
So are they your words or the news report's words?
News report's words, not mine.
Mass amount.
Yeah, I saw the picture. It was not a mass amount. I think it was at best two people's movements, at best. But I suppose any amount of human feces to deface a statue with is sending a message. Yeah, but
any amount too much. I mean, how's the saying go? It's
you deface one Gretzky.
It's a joint criminal enterprise as soon as you've got more than one person. So
I see what you mean, like a RICO statute kind of thing, racketing in I don't fucking know. But
what I mean is I think it's, you can
planned out. This wasn't just a guy walking by going
That's what I'm getting at.
That's
what I'm getting at. It wasn't necessarily, well, it could have been opportunistic, but at some point one person's got to turn to another and say, let's put shit on the face of that statue.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Let's both shit and put it on that statue. Yeah, they don't like him no more here.
Right, and presumably that's because he's a Trump supporter and Trump wants to take over your country, I would say.
Yes, and
Would that
he
be the
hasn't
reason?
stuck up and said, that's not a great move, threatening other nations' sovereignty.
Yes.
So, yeah, people dislike him here. I believe his father has disowned him, and we quite like his father. Yeah, it's big. Yeah, he's
even
a talking
the-
point over here.
Bullying talk of taking over the state hasn't changed Gretzy's mind at all.
No, he's firmly in the MAGA camp, it appears. Yeah, not good. But
Well, I've pushed you off track far enough, I think.
let's go back to an amazing thing that's happened. There is a map, and I'll send it so you can put it on the socials, but that shows the whole world and where rats have gotten to. And there is one shining, almost rectangular shape in the world, and it's Alberta. There are no rats in Alberta. Go on.
Sorry.
Yeah, questions, please. Questions is fine.
Someone's made a map of where rats go?
I believe the person was just trying to show off that Alberta has no rats.
Okay.
It was,
You could do that without a map, probably.
yeah, Alberta has no rats. In just text would be fine.
Yeah, text would be
But,
fine,
yeah.
vocalized.
So I wanted to research the history of it and understand it because it's something I've known since I got here. They're quite proud of it. It doesn't come up all the time, but it does come up often. And there are still, it is an ongoing battle. Absolutely an ongoing battle. There was a good phrase I read in...
sorry. So when
yeah.
you say ongoing battle, rats
Yeah.
are trying to get in and being denied.
Absolutely they are. Absolutely. I will read you a fantastic quote that was about the fact that there are rats in... here it is. So when I say it's a rat-free province, it is a rat-free province, but, and I quote, at any one time, a rat is standing on Alberta soil somewhere. But rat control exists to ensure that it will die quickly and die childless. So...
This is very dramatic prose going on here.
Yeah, there are no breeding rats in Alberta. Every municipality, or in some of the areas where it gets a bit more expansive, it's a county, has a designated rat patrol person.
Right.
And this was, I got into it quite deeply, and it gets pretty fucking weird, but it's deeply politicized. It is now funded by the state government, but it wasn't at the beginning. It was just more kind of encouraged by the state government, which is quite funny. But they kind of got... So it started in... This is weird too, because I learned a bit about the history of rats. Rats come from East Asia, right?
Nights are long there in Canadian winters, aren't they?
Yeah, hugely. Rats come from East Asia, and their expansion to the New World and just the world in general was pretty bloody slow. The first rats were arriving from the east coast of America, making their way west, in 1950.
Okay.
That's when the first rats made it to our eastern border. And this
Sounds
is
like you're
another one.
judging the rats.
I am.
Right.
Their lack of desire to expand, I suppose.
Right.
But yeah, it took a while because the only way, they are,
Have they not heard of your alley culture there?
they have and they want in, but we won't let them. That's the point. But yeah, and so they came through Saskatchewan, which is our province to the east, in the 40s, and they were seen. And so when I say there are no rats, there are, I believe they're called forest rats. There are forest rats here. There is another breed of rat, I forget his name, but the real problem rat, and when you think of a rat, you're thinking of I believe he's a Norwegian rat. That's the kind of rat he is. That's your kind of typical city rat, is a Norwegian rat. And they were expanding westward, Oregon Trail style, in the 40s. And we got all worried and decided to try and make a stand on an arbitrary line, the line between our province and the next, in the 50s. And weirdly, 75 years later, are successful in what we did. It has been through some weird ups and downs. It started with people just encouraging the border counties and municipalities on the east of us to catch and kill rats as they came into the province. But then it seems like for a good 5-year period that Alberta as a province got swindled by a weird French dude, a single French guy.
Right. A Lyle Lamley time.
Absolutely a Lyle Lanley type, a 50s Lyle Lanley type. It was
French Lyle Lanley, so...
Yeah, well, his name was Napoleon, and then the last name was something regular, but I forget what it was. But he said, don't worry, guys, I'll take over doing this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to kill him with...
kindness.
that poison, arsenic. Arsenic. I'm going to kill him with arsenic, right? And it's like, okay. And they said, well, you guys will have to provide the arsenic for me. And they were like, okay, where can we get arsenic? He said, well, I also own an arsenic company.
Oh, well, yeah.
You can buy your arsenic from me.
Yeah.
And so he sold them all the arsenic, which they then gave to him, which he then, and this is the great part, spread willy-nilly underneath all sorts of buildings around the eastern part of the province, right?
Right.
Fine, when you think about it, until people start realising that some of the buildings he spread it under were like, I assume they could only be described as tents because they were gone pretty soon.
Right.
And so a lot of arsenic got into the air and poisoned a lot of people and a lot of animals.
Yeah.
Right? And so we realised, but it did also keep the rats out.
Okay.
Which was good.
So job done.
Yeah, job done. But eventually we realised, well, that's not working. So we started... that's when we put it back out to the municipalities and the counties to look after their own rat issues. And it was about the late 50s, I think it was early 60s, when they decided, well, actually it turns out arsenic's not a great move and we can't just go strangling all these rats. So we found that warfarin, which is a blood thinning drug,
Right.
is far less harmless to other animals, and weirdly rats love to eat it and it kills them. So we started putting all these warfarin traps around so that they would eat the warfarin and then die. And one of the really weird parts about this period, which is the late 50s, is the messaging around it. I will send you through some images to put on the socials, but it is very World War II into Cold War kind of propaganda messaging. I'm looking at one right now. It's an image of a dastardly looking rat standing over a box of warfarin, and it says, "It kills me, but I just love warfarin." And it's like, it's very, like, and then like this very Axis of Evil one, which is rats are coming up the top with an exclamation point. Alberta, the only rat-free area in North America. And it's like a D-Day style map with every other province having rats facing towards Alberta, but Alberta is shining light.
Right.
It's wild how the propaganda... And so they went really hard. And so this is when they stopped funding the weird Napoleon fella, they decided as a province to, instead of put money into buying the warfarin and funding the provinces, they said the counties, they said, you counties got to pay for this on your own. We're putting all our money into advertising. So all of their money went into like public campaigns that rats are bad. And yeah, it's weird. And it also got for a while there kind of racist.
Yeah, like good
rats,
propaganda does.
Absolutely. All the people killing the rats were good kind of nuclear white families.
Right.
And the rats had quite, you know...
An affinity with other cultures, did they?
Yes. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And...
okay.
Yeah, go on. What do you got?
Well, I mean, the kind of style of propaganda advertising you're talking about there was all geared towards getting people to sign up to fight.
Yes. And that's exactly what
really
they were doing here.
Right, okay.
Yeah, because they wanted every person in Alberta to take it into their own hands to keep Alberta rat-free.
Right.
And they did, and it's still a big thing. And then I believe it was the 80s where we were having some rat issues. There was a second wave, second onslaught.
Right.
And they introduced a bounty, a rat bounty, that was, they used to have it in other provinces, and we had never done it, but in the 80s we did it, which was $10 per rat tail you could provide. But you couldn't provide them because we'd already kept most of the rats out, but people would go searching for rats. And there was a spate, I believe, of fake rat tails being tried to be given to the government to get money back for it. So it became this kind of very homogenous kind of like resistance starts at home kind of movement where...
Right. So like
Everyone
militia
is against
style.
the rat. Yeah, absolutely. Everyone is against the rat. And we have managed to keep them out. There was a pretty wild thing that has kind of been swept under the rug by all accounts in 2012. I think it was one of the smaller towns to the east of me had a rat infestation at their tip that was kind of like all kept hush-hush and took like 4 years to get rid of, but they diligently worked to get rid of it. And so, yeah, we still claim 30 years of rat-freeness here. And it's a weird thing, but we are the only... Recently, to kind of put this into perspective, in the country of Georgia, who backs onto the Black Sea, I want to say, I think it's the Black Sea, one of their quite small islands, a population of 30,000, spent $13.5 million trying to eradicate rats from the island. We're not an island.
Yes.
And slightly succeeded. They are the only place in the rest of the world that can kind of claim to be rats-free, but everyone who knows that there's still some rats on that Georgia island.
Everyone knows what's up. Canadians know what's up.
Yeah.
But, okay, well, two things. I'm slightly disappointed that there wasn't a kind of St. Patrick's-style story where one person...
Type of vibes, yeah.
One person beat back a wave of rats to keep the whole state free, and now they don't re-enter for fear of that person.
That person, yeah, I get you. No, I wish that too, but it's a pretty wild ride.
Yeah.
And it continues today. Like, it's still a thing. Also, I found the name that... okay, so there's a hotline you can call, 310-RAT, to say... Yeah, if you've seen a rat, you call them, and then they send the local rat guy to get it. Which is pretty cool.
Hey, do you have a hotline? Like I remember you telling me once. I can't remember which podcast. Might be a bit weird, but might not.
Yeah.
About in New York, they had a hotline you could ring if you spotted a rat.
Oh yeah, I haven't thought. Hey, you always saw a rat.
Hey, I saw a rat.
Yeah. Wow. How odd that this is the second time we've brought up a rat hotline without even thinking about it. Yeah, I forgot about that. That was when they had that Spader rat. That was around the time of, that would have been COVID time, around the time of Pizza Rat. Remember that rat? That very large rat that took a pizza?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a rat?
Yeah,
in the wild?
I've got one out the back in my palm trees.
Oh, really? Okay.
So we got palm trees next to our pool, and when, we'll go out swimming, we'll hear it rustling around, and occasionally it'll just run up right next to us and have a look at us.
I personally, I don't care too much about rats. Like, they don't worry me like other people, especially the people of this province, seem to fear them. But, they're pretty weird, and they get quite large.
Yes.
I've never seen them in Sydney. I've seen mice. Maybe I've seen rats, but sometimes, like, it could have been a possum, I suppose. But I remember going to Rome, and Rome had a lot of rats, big rats, like cat-sized rats. It was pretty weird.
Yeah, they can be disturbingly large. I'll tell you what I'm seeing at the moment in my mind.
Yeah.
You were talking about your rat map with a very clear Alberta in the middle, encircled on all sides by rats.
Yeah.
It's got very Second Reich feels.
Yeah, well,
Germany,
everything does over here at the moment, mate.
Germany in the time between, becoming a nation and at the end of World War One. The justification largely for initiating World War One was that they were encircled and could easily be overtaken by all sides. So, you've got a fair bit in common with the Kaiser and his fellas. A bit of
in my, well, I suppose this is later than that, but in my modern adaptation of the Schlieffen Plan,
yes,
I immediately take northern Saskatchewan and rid it of its rats, but also at the same time take British Columbia's south to the west of me and rid them of their rats. Yeah, okay. Some kind of modern rat Schlieffen Plan. Yeah. There's your title, Modern Rat
Schlieffen Plan, yeah.
Yeah.
But even for, not to be disrespectful to people 100 years ago, but I'd even suspect that the rats would be able to get themselves together faster than the Belgians and the French did. You
the
see,
Belgians lay down in a day. Bunch of bicycle riding, chocolate eating losers. They did nothing.
yeah. But the French, I mean, like, you've got 1 million Germans marching through Belgium. You're just going to patiently wait and see what happens with those guys?
No, the rats had put up a fight. But this brings me to how I was going to finish it with just this is on the Alberta government website still, right now. Like, it's still there. These, and I quote, "The problem is not solved. Rats have the capability to spread throughout Alberta just as easily today as they could in the past. We must stay vigilant."
Right.
That's war talk, man. Like, that's like, yeah, no, it is very, Second Reich between the wars, Germany. We are concerned. I don't know when the Third Reich will emerge to final solution, the rat problem, but it may happen.
Now, perhaps that song Alberta is written from a rat's perspective. It's a bit, Alberta, Alberta.
Don't kill me, I'm a rat. Yeah. Like, what's the
You look like a nice place to be. Anyway.
I had some other weird stuff I wanted to tell you about Canada as well. And try and...
Was that your big story?
Yeah, that was my big story.
Oh, okay. Very good.
I hope so. Like,
yeah.
that was my big story. I'm trying to think if there was any other weird bits about the rats, but no, there's nothing.
That's pretty weird, though.
Yeah, that's pretty weird, and we're still proud of it and still keep it rat-free.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Bit weird, but fair enough. Is it fair enough to have this strong militant attitude to keeping rats out of your state?
I think it's good. I think definitely fair enough. I think it will prepare us for any future human conflicts, minimally, but
Wow.
somewhat.
The rats from the south, potentially.
Yeah, south. Yeah, absolutely. But no, I think that we've taken a stand against. And I didn't point this out at the beginning, and I probably should have. The reason we wanted to keep it rat free is the damage they cause to crops like wheat and things like that.
Yeah, isn't that a bit of a no-dur though? Every state.
Yeah, I think it is, but I think for some of our Australian listeners, perhaps understanding that we do grow wheat here would help, because if they found out it was a non-kind of growing region and we just hated rats, that'd be weirder.
Yeah. Oh, no, I think Australians understand that other countries need to grow food.
Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah, everyone has to grow food.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about, once again, under-researched is a term that gets thrown around a lot, but I had always heard this, so I read a little bit more about it today. Provinces here have premiers similar to states at home, and there was a premier in the, I want to say, he ruled here for quite a while, the 90s and then the early 2000s. He
governed.
Presided?
Yeah, presided. Yeah, that's fine.
Or is presided specifically for president?
Yeah, probably is.
Yeah.
Let's go with governed.
He governed. Yeah, premier probably governs. Yeah, well done. Ralph Klein. And I had heard this story about him. But he's one of those kind of he's a hard man, but a well-loved hard man.
Right.
But by all accounts had a bit of an issue with booze.
Okay.
And, and there's this great story that I've heard, kind of I'm sure, what's a nicer way to say, Chinese whispered into bigger stories, but this story became bigger. But I looked it up today.
I think they call it the whisper game now or something like that, perhaps.
Well, I was with my wife and I said, are we playing Chinese whispers? And she said, what do you mean Chinese whispers? I said, well, that's what we call it at home. She said, yeah, we call it telephone, you fucking racist country. Yeah. And I was like, oh, God. Yeah, we are racist, Australia. Ralph Klein was a premier here, and I had heard this story about him, but I got a bit more of the details today. 2001, he had gone to a Christmas kind of legislative do of some sort.
Yes.
And was in his government car going home afterwards and said, hey, just pull over here at the Herb Jameson Centre, a 249-bed homeless shelter in Edmonton.
Right.
While intoxicated. An argument ensued between Klein and the residents.
Right.
And he was filmed. I don't know if it was filmed or just people saw him yelling at the majority of them to get jobs and then taking out his wallet and throwing coins at them.
Well, hang on. I hope it was more than 25.
What?
The loonies, 25. Remember?
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah, good callback. Yeah. Second half of the show. No, he did not respect that law. He was just drunk and yelling at homeless people to get jobs and throwing coins at them.
Right.
And somehow this did not end his premierial reign. But yeah, I just thought it's a great, bit weird story, but fair enough, I suppose.
It's a bit weird. So I guess Canadians aren't too sensitive about their politicians being horrible assholes to them.
I think they're quite pragmatic here, where they can go, well, he was yelling at homeless guys. They don't have jobs.
You can't fault the truth.
Yeah, like the content there, like it makes sense, I suppose.
Fair enough.
Kind of what he was getting at. But yeah, that's weird. Another weird one to take a very different slant. Ontario, that province we discussed before.
Ontario.
You can only buy milk in bags. Yeah, isn't that weird? Yeah, milk comes in bags over there.
So in one
weird?
state?
Yeah. Maybe there's other bordering states that it comes in bags as well, but as far as I know, it's only Ontario.
Well, like, what? I'm trying to imagine what the bag looks like. Like a goon bag, like a wine cask bag.
Yeah, I assume. I'm going to Google it as we speak. But I've been told everyone has their own milk receptacle and dispenser at home.
Are you going to tell me that you reuse the bags?
No, the bag doesn't get reused.
Oh, right.
But you take the bag, you don't pour your own milk out of the bag. It looks like a medical bag. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't pour your own milk out of the bag, you pour it into something.
All right.
Yeah, it's just a bag. 4-litre bag, too. 4-litre bag. Holy.
But the bag isn't descriptive enough for my liking. What's it look like? What's it made of?
Okay, I've got a good description for you. It looks like what you would receive ice from at a service station.
Ah, right. So a big plastic bag, essentially.
Yeah, big plastic bag of a kind of tubular, rectangular nature.
Okay.
With a kind of metal clip on the top that holds the milk in.
That doesn't seem secure enough for my liking.
Nah, me neither. Looking at it, I'm concerned about the security of it.
And so what have they got against fucking cartons?
Okay.
Or bottles?
Here you go. It doesn't appear to be an openable bag. You need to pierce it.
So you got to slash your bag of milk when you get it home?
Yes, it looks that way. There's a video I'm watching right now about how to do it. And it appears as if you put the bag into a... What the fuck are they doing? They've put the bag... That's fucking bizarre. So in the video I'm watching, she gets like a jug, like picture like a pub beer jug.
All right.
She puts the bag of milk in and it's sitting in there, and then she cuts the top corner off the milk. And you're thinking, okay, that works. Then she pours it out of the bag. Like the bag just sits in the jug. The milk doesn't touch inside the jug. It's in the bag. What a fucking weird country.
I need an explanation. What's wrong with cartons and bottles? Why won't...
I don't know. I've been to a few different Southeast Asian countries where I have purchased like soft drinks in bags at like 7-Elevens and stuff. Yeah.
Why?
Singapore, I think specifically. Singapore bagged beverages. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's probably just our Western kind of society impressed on our own minds that you have to have a solid container for your liquids.
All right. So are you pro or against milk in bags? Like,
I'm on the fence. I don't feel strongly either way. It doesn't offend me.
Right. Well, it's offending me.
It appears to offend you.
It very much so. But okay, so just quickly looking here, it would seem that it's just a case of it would be too expensive to refit milk distribution centres with equipment that can accommodate bottles or plastic.
So they started by bagging up milk and they're not going to move away from the bagging up milk.
Yeah, it's cost prohibitive to not bag it, it would seem.
But, like, that doesn't make sense with evolution to me.
No.
Like, people didn't... Like, when we were first having drinks, we weren't drinking them out of bags.
Yeah, it doesn't say why they started in bag territory.
When did we first have a fucking bag that could hold a liquid? That would have been last century, surely. Do you think there were any bags that held liquids in the 1800s? Maybe.
Well, yeah, Well, those little...
Yeah?
But I think
Go on.
they made them out of skin, like animal skin and stuff.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, like a sausage. Like a liquid sausage bag. Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right, fair.
That's fine, but that doesn't excuse in 2025 still putting milk in bags.
Yeah,
it doesn't look
pretty
safe,
weird.
and it's frustrating me.
It does. It definitely doesn't look safe, does it? Like,
And you have to cut the bag.
yeah.
We're starting to repeat ourselves here, but I can't quite
I'm
wrap my
outraged.
head around it.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty weird, isn't it? I thought the throwing coins at the homeless guys would have caused this kind of outrage, but no, it's the bags of milk.
Well, in terms of political figures, it seems down the lower end of the scale of outrageous things in recent times, to be honest.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, throw coins at homeless people. Not too bad. Other than that, nothing really weird sticks out to me here.
Well, you got me with the bags, mate. Clearly, like I wasn't riled up until then.
Bag milk got ya. Yeah, that's pretty weird. Pretty weird.
Pretty weird. All right, I'll tell you about something, and I'll apologise at the start. I'm sorry. I know it's a stereotype, but I had to do it.
Don't you have like a soundbite for that you just play at the beginning of all podcasts?
I know it's a stereotype
Or
soundbite.
no, just an apology. Like,
right.
I know, I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
here it is. Like,
Yeah, well, I mean, if I was genuinely sorry, I wouldn't do it. But I'm just
That's
trying to
true.
seem a bit sorry so I can just go ahead and do it anyway.
you need a sorry soundboard.
Yeah.
Where you can just not feel sorry, but press the button anyway.
And this is the story of the great Canadian maple syrup heist.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with this. I'd
You
like
are?
to hear it. Yeah, absolutely. I know that. Like, I don't want to ruin your story, but
Well, I'm
think
just
that-
reading it off Wikipedia, so you go right ahead.
I think the most interesting part of the story is that Canada has a strategic maple syrup reserve.
Yes.
Yeah, like that's amazing. And it is a pretty interesting story in that people stole it and then tried to. I believe they tried to look. I'll let you read the story, but I believe they tried to then what's the word I'm looking for? But sell it back to the government.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's that word? Ransom. That's the word I'm looking for. Ransom it back to the government, which
Yeah.
is just so Canadian, so wild. Yeah, go on, read it, and we'll react as we go rather than me trying to make the story up at the beginning.
Well, the title is explanatory in that it is Canadian and it's a maple syrup heist. It was a theft of maple syrup occurring over several months in 2011-2012 of nearly 3,000 tons of maple syrup. So
That's another very interesting part too, right? So is that how you measure maple syrup in tons?
that's why I hesitated. I was looking for a liquid measurements of some kind.
But is it? I mean, it's a very viscous liquid.
That's right. So maybe whoever wrote this decided it was too
Pretend it was a solid.
it was too close to the solid side for them
Is
to.
there such a thing as a liquid ton?
Well, now you've stumped me.
Is there a liquid kilo? There must be something that weighs
No,
a liquid kilo.
there's nothing called a liquid kilo.
Okay.
But I mean, you can obviously pursue that with the relevant authorities after this podcast.
Yeah. Liquid weight. Yeah, I haven't
Yeah.
thought about that much.
So the value of the stolen syrup was
Yeah.
18.7 million loonies.
That's a lot of fucking maple syrup, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's from a storage facility in Quebec.
Yeah.
So the facility was operated by the Federation of Quebec Maple Syrup Producers,
Okay.
which represents 77% of the global maple syrup supply.
Makes sense. Yeah, I don't think many other countries make it,
No.
if any.
So as
Maybe
you
some Northern American parts, but not many.
so as you kind of indicated, the maple syrup producers got together in Quebec and made a joint plan on how to market maple syrup.
Yep. Sure.
And the long and short of it is...
A syrup syndicate.
Yeah. The long and
A
short
cartel. A syrup cartel.
Absolutely. That's the word we're looking for.
Yeah.
But I won't go through all their kind of trade dealings, etc. But the upshot is that that group of people, as of 2000, maintained a strategic reserve of maple syrup, officially known as the International Strategic Reserve, housed at 4 different sites in rural towns around Quebec. That's smart.
International Strategic Reserve.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's interesting.
That's smart.
That's globalism, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But it's... I mean, it's theirs, they're Canadian, but it's 4 international people, I guess. But the 4 sites is smart because...
It got thieved.
Yeah, well, if someone hits one of your sites, you've still got 3 maple syrup sites active.
Yeah, you keep the gun at one house and the clip at another house. So they've got, like, yeah, I get it. Have you ever seen maple syrup being made?
No.
It's pretty cool. I don't remember where I saw it, probably in the country here. But it's pretty much as simple as the right time, and then it's a device kind of like a sharp speculum.
Right.
Kind of. Less specul, more and then a bucket hanging on it. So it's kind of like just an open needle into a tree and then a bucket, and it drips into the bucket. And then you got to boil it to get it down to something edible because it's quite sour at the start.
Right.
Yeah.
And what, shit ton of sugar added?
No sugar added.
Oh.
Just all the shit stuff burns off, and then it's pretty much just sugar and the maple flavour.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't think there's any sugar added. I think it's all from the tree itself.
Right. Well, anyway, after a particularly good year, in 2011, the Federation rented a space in a warehouse in the middle of Quebec, a place called Saint Louis de Blanford.
Okay.
And apparently, unfortunately, security arrangements there were pretty minimal. That's where quite a lot of syrup got taken. And so
they took them.
So that's where the barrels got housed. And
then at an offsite
at the warehouse.
Okay, yep, sure.
And then over the course of several months between 2011 and 2012, the contents of 9,571 barrels were stolen in a suspected insider job from the facility. The syrup was stored in unmarked white metal barrels, inspected only once a year. Well, I suppose it's good there's not rats around.
Now we've got to do our yearly inspection.
Sorry, that's the wrong state. There probably were rats around.
Yeah, there were definitely rats around over there.
Yeah. Thieves used trucks to transport barrels to their remote sugar shack. That's how it's written here. I don't know why. Actually, that's highlighted. A sugar shack, also known as a sap house, sugar shanty, or sugar cabin, is an establishment. They're small cabins where sap collected from maple trees is boiled into maple syrup. All right.
Oh, it's that place I was talking about. I didn't know it had a name, a sugar shack.
Sugar shack. There you go.
Okay, cool.
And so as the operation progressed, the thieves started siphoning syrup directly off barrels in the reserve without refilling them.
What?
And the stolen syrup was trucked
How uncouth.
Here's where it was trafficked in small batches to reduce suspicion. I like the word trafficked in there in relation to syrup.
What do you reckon, though? Like filling condoms, tying them up and swallowing them? Or like a terrorist bomb kind of vibe, like strapped to you?
Well, I don't know. Like, I don't think you need to internally stuff the syrup to get around. Like, if you've only got small batches, you walk around, someone goes, "What's that?" Or you go, "Some syrup." I don't think there'll be follow-up questions. They're not going to say,
"Are you Canadian?" Yeah, all right.
Did you steal that from a facility from the international marketers of syrup?
We haven't found out yet because we only inspect it once a year.
That's right, exactly.
And that inspection's coming the day before Christmas, so you got 6 months. Yeah.
Yeah. Therefore, I have no more questions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, fair play. Yeah, that's a good point. But the traffic does make it seem more illicit.
Yeah, absolutely.
You probably Yeah, I like that.
It was typically sold to legitimate syrup distributors who were unaware of its origin. So that's, like you said, sold pretty much back to the same people.
I also like, just before you go on there, legitimate syrup dealers indicates that there is probably a black market for the illegitimate syrup dealer.
Which you'd probably think would be the better option for stolen syrup.
First hit's free. Yeah, here's some syrup. Yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't want to go back to the legitimate ones. You want to go to the illegitimate grey market syrup dealers.
I like this. In July 2012, the FPAQ, the syrup men, took its... Sorry, that's sexist. Syrup people.
Syrup people, yeah.
Took its annual inventory of syrup barrels. Inspector Michael Gavros started climbing up the barrels and nearly fell, expecting 600-pound, 270-kilo barrels, but finding them all to be empty.
Someone has stolen our syrup.
Yeah. Police later recovered hundreds of barrels of syrup from the exporter base in New Brunswick. And then...
Shit, they took them to New Brunswick. Okay.
Between 18 and 20 December 2012, police arrested 17 men relating to the theft. So this is a big kind of enterprise, really.
Yeah. Syrup cartel. An opposing syrup cartel.
That's right. So there you go. It's, I mean, adjusted for inflation, it's only 15 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's the most valuable heist in Canadian history. And of course, it has to be maple syrup related.
Yeah. Very Canadian. Yeah, that's a weird one in general, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maple syrup, it's a weirdly unique to Canada thing, isn't it?
It is. And I suppose, like, it would be weird to have that kind of heist anywhere else. So, I don't...
Well, I don't think anyone else has any syrup reserves.
Exactly.
Like, that's just... No one else thinks to do that.
Making it a rare thing.
Yeah, the syrup theft.
Can I tell you about a weird Canadian product that I found?
Please. I'd love to hear about one.
It's called Thrill Chewing Gum.
Okay.
Have you heard of this?
I'm excited already. No, I haven't, but I'm excited.
It's a Canadian branded chewing gum, originally produced by the OPG Company of London, Ontario.
I'm familiar with OPG.
Right.
I'm absolutely familiar with that, yeah.
So it's known for its purple colour and distinctive flavour. Comparisons of its flavour to soap are so prevalent that recent packaging states it still tastes like soap.
Wow.
So,
what a great slogan.
So not only does this...
But they revel in their soap.
Well, I was going to say, I was going to be a bit nasty, but I'm going to. Not only is this clearly shit gum, but now they're leaning into the shitness. With their marketing.
Yeah, wow. Still tastes like soap.
It still tastes like soap. Like, that's meant to have it flying off the shelves.
What's it called? Thrill gum?
Thrills.
I'm looking it up. Thrills gum. Yeah, it comes up pretty early in Canada.
Yeah.
Suppose geo-searching. Thrills chewing gum. Holy shit. Have you seen the packet? It looks like something you get at the chemist.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't look
And
good.
Do you see the line? It still tastes like soap.
Retro gum that tastes like soap. Soap gum. It says here it's street term, or like it's referred to as soap gum.
Yeah. Look, I can understand sometimes companies leaning into popular opinions about their products for their marketing, but probably not in this case, right?
No, I don't. I have no desire to eat soap.
No.
Like,
well, thank you. I'm glad you clarified that for the bit weird but fair enough listeners.
Yeah, I definitely do not have. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
It says here it's rose water flavored.
Yeah. Well, clearly not enough.
No, like you need to put a bit more of that. Oh, that doesn't sound good at all.
No, but there you go. And
I don't want that.
And perhaps I should throw a parting oddity at you as we've reached
oddity part.
The end of our Canadian podcasting adventure.
Yeah. What do you got?
So I've checked this and I saw it kind of in a couple of different places, and I didn't see anyone saying it wasn't true. So I'm going to run with it. You know, that's how I do.
Yeah.
In the Hudson Bay region, the average resident weighs 1/10 of an ounce less than anywhere else in the world.
Really?
Why is that? Because all the way back in the last ice age, 11,000 years ago, much of Canada covered by a giant glacier called the Laurentide ice sheet. Ice is very heavy. So the ice began to melt about 21,000 years ago. The earth underneath it began to come back. However, in the Hudson Bay region, it's still deformed where the ice sheet was. And so the ground itself has less mass there than other places. So less mass means there's less gravity, which explains why you weigh a little bit less in that area of Canada.
So it's a really kind of like, I'm picturing like living on a kind of Swiss cheese kind of like, just like a very like kind of sparsely densulated ground. I don't understand that. That kind of...
I don't understand how it works either, but my stupid brain, of course, is picturing people getting out of cars at Hudson Bay and then just bouncing around like that moon footage of people bouncing, of the astronauts bouncing around up there with not enough gravity.
Yeah. Some of the world record longest home runs and stuff in baseball have happened at like Mile High Stadium in Denver.
Right.
Because of how high it is and the air is thinner and it's easier to hit. I wonder if there's like some records you could break in that part of the world that you couldn't other places.
Get a
could
stadium
people dunk
in
on
there.
like 15-foot basketball rims, people dunking on them. Like,
have Hudson Bay ever applied for the Olympics?
Interesting. No, they should. Hudson Bay also is a large part of this country, the Hudson Bay Company, which was kind of similar to like the Dutch East India. It was a trading company that kind of made the country at the beginning, and they are shutting down the majority of their remaining kind of they're kind of to this day like a David Jones kind of vibe,
right?
Like a Grace Brothers kind of thing, and they're shutting down most of them this week, which is a bit sad.
That is a bit sad.
Yeah.
And a bit of an odd way to finish this podcast, but that's okay.
Very odd.
I wouldn't want it any other way.
Bit weird.
Yeah, and fair enough. I'll allow you that. Monty?
Yeah?
A lot of fun to have you back.
It's great to be back.
Extremely long episode.
That was wild.
We just had so much to talk about. I guess that means Canada's a weird place.
And I've got more. So, like, say, keep it in the holster. There's more weird stuff to talk about.
All right, very good. Thanks, Monty.
Thanks, mate. It was good to be back.
This is an Angry Chimp podcast.